let me share.
My coach Bryce didn't die running the Ironman this weekend, so that's good.
Hey, that's right.
Oh shoot.
Thanks, Brian.
You know, is it
What's up, my man?
fair to say run the Ironman? Because that's just one of three things he's doing, right? I mean, is that actually, do people say run the Ironman? Because I heard a lot of people say that, and now sound like I'm trying to shame someone. That's not the point, but I was curious. Is that do you say that normally, or how do you say someone doing the Ironman?
You can say they ran it. You can say they completed it. You can say they attempted it. Whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Okay.
One of my friends literally had a sign that said "Participate harder." That was their sign for me.
That's funny. Wow. Okay, well that's that's a win right there. Bryce, for those of you who didn't know, apparently he told everybody, because even my clients this morning was like, yeah, how was the Ironman for Bryce? I'm like, shoot,
really?
I missed. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
He sent an email blast. Right. But yeah, that's I'm impressed with that. Guys, how about other wins or business wins? What's going on? What's going on well? What's one or two good things happening this week in your guys' world here? Let's hear it.
I personally put it together I can't think of what it's called right now, but you guys, I think you guys called it the Eisenhower's, like your guys' to-do list.
Yeah. Eisenhower matrix. Yep.
Yes. So I put that together and just, put what's important, what's not urgent, delegate, and which is working for me so far, because I feel like as a mom, you get so many distractions as well as working. So it's great for me.
Wow.
Let's go. What do you guys say, Toya?
I love that you said even as a mom, really just as a living being who's doing something outside of work, that is crucial. Like, do I need a to-do list for my personal life and one for work? Well, it turns out they're kind of one and the same. So they affect each other dramatically. So I love that. Other wins, what's going on? Well,
I got one. Travis and I had went over some of my profit and loss a couple weeks ago, and I found like $91,000 worth of double entries that was throwing my books off. It was from negative material number, and realized that receipts and income were being marked double at times, and it was throwing off my books, and that is like almost 100% figured out now. So it's a huge relief.
Wow. $91,000. That's something to write home about.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot. And I love that you view it as a win because it is. But it's easy to see something like that and just take that very negatively and say, "Oh no, this is just so bad. I'm not happy." Well, you found it. I mean, could you imagine if that went on and you did not know that? That would be horrible.
If that went on, I would have owed about $40,000 more taxes.
Oh my.
Yeah, just last year. So yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that. And this win, here's what I heard. I saved myself $40,000 in taxes. There you go. That's the headline right there. All right. Anybody else? Any other wins here? Bobby has got the Bobby blue hat today. I haven't seen that one before, and I like it. That's perfect. Any other wins before we get into this? It's hard to beat the last one, I'll admit it, but all right, guys. Well, if you have something, interrupt me, but we'll go ahead with this. Desktop 2, that's still the one on my left. Perfect here. All right, guys. Some of you may already know that I'm actually going to talk about the unlocking the power of your customer database. And let's just get right into it. So first thing I want to ask you is, are you keeping up with your database, with your customer database? Does it look like this? First off, or does it look like, something hopefully a little bit more neat? And does anyone have a customer database that looks like this? Raise your hand. I'm trying to scan through quickly. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh. IC Construct. Tell me about your database right now. Does it look something like this right now?
No, I was kidding.
Oh, shoot. I was like, because you can get off the phone and burn all that right now, was what I was going to say.
I want to say though, my desk right now does, but
Okay.
not my database.
Me too.
Well, there's forgiveness for that. That's okay. That's called being busy, and you can put that, we can work through that. That's okay.
It's only
here-
an inch high, or quarter inch high, that looks like a foot.
Yeah, I'd say about a foot. That's pretty impressive. But here's the main thing, everybody. It's if number one, if your customer data, and I know that some of this may be fairly archaic to about 90% of you, but I still run in every once in a while. Someone tells me, actually, all of my database is on paper. So number one, please tell me it's digital. We cannot use anything on paper. You can't access it well. You have to organize it. It's a lot of extra work. You can't even copy paste. It's totally useless. It's just a whole lot of work just to say you have a database, but you can't even use it. So please turn it digital. Next thing here is, are you really serious? And don't just hear this and say, Jonathan, are we really talking about this right now? No, really question this. Are you serious about gathering a full name, a phone number, email address every single time? Every single time. And I say this because I still get a database every once in a while. I'm not calling anybody out here, where there's only the first name or maybe just the company name. Well, who are we addressing this to? Well, sometimes there's a phone number that doesn't even work, or an email address that bounces. Even if you think you got it, are we intentional with the way that we're gathering? Are we repeating it back? Are we making sure it's accurate? Are we truly communicating with the customers through this? Who's fairly confident that, man, I've been doing actually a pretty good job with that, and let me toot my horn. Who's pretty confident about that? No one's confident you've been doing it right. You just don't want to talk. Okay.
We
one
do
of them.
ours. I mean, I would say our company, we just every single time we have a system, so it forces us to do it.
Yep.
So it's pretty good. Every once in a while you get a bad one. So we do have to work on speaking back to them, like you're saying, and repeating it back and making sure they're accurate. But we got first, last, and emails on every. They were all digital, so we've kind of forced us to do that. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and it seems pretty common. I think usually about I'd say 5 to 10%. It seems common for those emails to bounce, just because they got it wrong. And so if we can get that down to under 5%, I understand that when you're on the phone, you're just going to miss sometimes, and it's difficult, even no matter how many times you repeat it back. You're just going to have to hope you got it right sometimes. I get that. But let's keep those far and few in between as much as possible. Okay, so what's important here is that number one, it's accurate, it's accessible. If you have a lot of information here and you don't know how to effectively retrieve it, then what good is it? You've got to have a complete customer base. And what makes having a customer database so important? What makes that so important? Do I have someone who's going to stand up and give me the right answer here, or a answer? What makes having a customer database so important? Why do we even care?
Email list.
Yes. And what are we going to use that email list? Just to sell the information to people here, or are we going to email them?
Follow
Existing
up.
customers are easier to work with or to sell to.
Exactly.
going out and acquiring new customers.
Exactly. Y'all get it. So, and I saw the nod on Michael. He's like, of course, I didn't mean sell the email database. I meant like, email them. So appreciate that. So it's the ability to remarket to your past customers. And that's what's so important here. So why should you remarket to your customers? We're going to talk about the specifics here and then how you can do so effectively right now, today, as soon as possible. So number one, this is important because it just straight up helps with customer retention. And I hate to offend anybody if it does, but most people forget about you pretty soon after you're out the door. You might just be the next, you're one of the contractors that came by in the last few months. That's very typical. Who was the handyman guy that was here again? Could you call him? Well, I don't know. Let's just call someone. I wasn't too, fond or whatever. You've just got to remind them that you exist. Customers are busy with their own lives. They're not thinking about the last person who remodeled their kitchen or installed their new water heater. They move on quick. So it's your job to remind them that you're there. Number one. What else? Upselling and cross-selling opportunities. Turns out, and someone just said this, so props to you, repeat customers are more likely to buy again, to buy more. If they loved you as a plumber, turns out if you begin to offer more niche plumbing services like backflow testing, and I'm not saying this is what you should do, but if you happen to be doing that, or go into heating and air, it turns out they really like you. Chances are they need to know about that you're doing those things, and they're more likely to use you again for those things. So, or I know a lot of water damage restoration companies like to incorporate kind of duct cleaning or carpet cleaning in there. Well, they're not going to assume that their water damage guy is doing those things. They need to be told. So secondly, you cannot communicate these things unless you're being deliberate about it. They will not know. So, if you're offering a new service, this needs to be communicated to your customers. And then just for upselling, turns out if you're there for their AC system, give them a nudge during wintertime about their heating system. It's important to remind them. And that's if you haven't sold them a service agreement, of course, for whatever reason, mark them down anyway and reach out to them later. Okay, this builds brand loyalty. Remarketing to your customers will help you build stronger relationship with your customers. So when you're in front of them more often, turns out they remember you a lot more easily. You're more at the top of their mind. You're not just Bobby Blue who showed up one time. You're Bobby Blue that's in my face at least once a month with a great informative email or an opportunity, or that they don't just forget about you. Turns out they recognize you and like you more. They're more likely to have a sense of loyalty to your company. So when they need someone again, they're going to call you. Here's a thought I had the other day when I was putting this together. I was thinking, it's crazy how many new customers everyone is getting all the time. And I doubt every single new customer you're getting is the first time they've ever called someone who offers what you offer. In other words, most new customers are customers lost from your competition. Now, what makes you think they're not going to use another person again? You've got to stop them in their tracks this time. You've got to grab them. You've got to claim them into your customer database. So that's what's very important here. The last thing here is with a customer, when you're remarketing, you get to have data-driven insights. And it's pretty straightforward. I'm not asking to build pie charts and diagrams and whatever. What's important here is just to gain valuable data and insights from your customers. When you're remarketing, you want to track what's working well. Nothing new here. What customers are responding well? What are they responding well to? When does it offer a discount, or is the open rate a lot higher when I offer a free inspection, or does everyone just turn away the other way direction as soon as they see that? You know, we got to be honest with ourselves and truly assess what's working well and what isn't. Try different things, measure the results. Okay, well, where do you start? Number one, you have to obsess over gathering your customers' information. We talked a little bit about this already, so I'm going to brush over this, but it's super important. You have to have a customer database, and you need to be extremely intentional with it. Have somewhere in your, you have to have somewhere where your customers' information is stored. And, you know, if you don't have a CRM that you're using, you can use one. I'm not going to say if you don't have a CRM, you have to go get one right now. It's all depends. Talk with your coach about that. Just because you don't have one doesn't mean you have to go run and get one. There's a lot of factors that come into this. But if you do have one, please make sure you're putting all the information into it. If you don't have one of the best things you can start doing immediately is export all the data you have from just your if you have a Google account, you can easily export all emails. The problem is if that's all you have, sometimes the name isn't attached to that list. The phone number is not going to be on that list. It's going to be, you know, kind of a half database here, but it's a good starting point. But if you don't have anything in place right now, please just at the very least have just a Google spreadsheet. First name, last name, email, phone number. You can include address in there as well, if that helps you just when booking things and so forth. But no one likes to feel like, hey, I'm calling you again for the third time this year, and you still act like you have no information of mine. Can you just pull up my profile somehow, you know, and work through that? Yeah, you need to be getting 99% of your customers' emails. And if you're not getting that, that's not you right now. If the only time you're not getting an email is because they literally don't have one, or they are battling you to not give you one, you could say, you know, that's the only acceptable time. If they say, oh, well, why do you need it? And then you go, hey, you know what? No big deal. Let's just move on. That's a no. You just tell them, I need it to send you your receipt. Just give them a reason, any reason. You say, oh, I need it because my boss asked me to collect it. Just tell them something. It turns out if you give anyone any reason, they're a lot more likely to just listen to you and go move forward with it. Just give them a reason, please. Don't just, you know, don't just give up so easily. But I mean, you could be honest about it. Hey, just want to keep you in the loop. Want to stay in contact, and you know, oh, trust me, I'm not going to blast you with 3 emails a day here. We don't do that to our customers. Oh, okay, laugh it off. Hands over the email. that's ideal, right? Okay, so you're not asking for permission. Like I said, just give them a reason. What's the best email for a receipt? It's part of your booking process. If they're not when you're booking a call with them, get that email right off the bat. Hey, what's the best email? I just scheduled a plumber here last week, and they asked me for the email right off the bat. Turns out they already sent me something for a service agreement or something. I don't know what it was for again, but oh yeah, it was a rewards program, and you know, that was interesting because they didn't tell me what was in it for me, so I, you know, moved on. I promise I'm not that mean or negative here. I'm just, yeah. If for some reason, you know, they can't give you an email, just they'll let you know. That's the main thing. So, okay. Next thing, it needs to be accessible and easy to retrieve. So you can use a CRM, but it's not always the answer here. I'm not saying if you don't have one, you have to go run and get one, like I said before. All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts here about the marketing itself. You're like, finally, Jonathan, this took forever, please. So first off, email marketing. Who's ran some kind of email campaign recently? Shay Toya is like, Jonathan, I have. Can you tell me something else I haven't been doing? No. Anybody else in the last, let's say, month, or let's say couple of months? Let's put it out there. Anyone who's recently remarketed to your past customers through email? All right, that's okay. That's why we're on this. I see a good old. Oh, okay. Thought Bryce, you're communicating with me, but that was to everyone. Yeah, great question. What was an email campaign you've run before? Shay Toya, what did you just send out recently?
Well, it's more towards my women's group that I had, but so
Yeah.
no, I guess I'm not.
Well, hey, at least I hear you understand the power of email blasts. So I'll give you a point for that.
Right.
Here's the main thing is that, you know, this is not black and white here. I'm just going to give some general guidelines here, but you know, recommended frequency is once per month is pretty safe. No one's going to get upset that they got an email from you once a month. In fact, they may not even really know that, you know, notice that it's, you know, happening at all. It's like, in the sense that they're not going to be bothered by it. They're not going to say, oh, let's unsubscribe immediately. Usually once per month is a good minimum. You can do a little bit more than that, but you know, let's email them as much as we can without bothering them. You know, I'd say the most you should send is probably twice a month if you want to minimize unsubscribing here. Now, here's the next thing is you've got to have one topic, not two or three, just one. Why is this so important? Because you have to be clear on the reason for the campaign. Let's be really specific on why you are emailing them. Are you trying to get them to call you? Are you wanting them to learn something? Are you wanting them to know about a new service or product you're offering? Only talk about the one reason you're reaching out. Hey, looks like you're due for maintenance. When's a good time to get that scheduled? Don't add on, by the way, we also can do this for you. We can help you with your gutters and your roofing and when was the last time you got your chimney inspected? Stop. Now it's getting confusing and convoluted and you've lost them. No one's going to read that. So one reason, be clear, be specific. Next thing is you've got to be direct. Don't take too long to get to the point. No one cares about the fluff. I know it's not, you know, your high school or college paper here. Turns out that wasn't very helpful. No one cares about the fluff. There's no teachers grading you here. It's just someone who has a very, very short attention span. They want to know what's in it for me. Why should I care? So you've got to be quick to the point. To that point, it's got to be concise and clearly formatted so you can grip their attention as much as possible. So what I mean by that is people don't like to read words, especially not big paragraphs. People are afraid of that one big paragraph email. It's like, whoa, what is all this? You know, chances are, maybe that's, no, I won't say it. Okay, people are afraid of big paragraphs. And so what should you do differently? You know, add a big bold title when you can. Add some bullet points. Hey, here's 3 reasons why you should probably get your water heater flushed. You know, at least once a year or once every other year, whatever that is. I'm not a plumber. I'm just making this up. You know, because X, Y, and Z bullet points, very clear. It's not a long drawn out explanation about the mechanics and how everything is, you know, works together. No, it's just clear reason. What's in it for me? Why do I care? Yeah, and just add some photos when you can here and there, depends on what kind of email campaign it is. Make it look entertaining and easy to read. Make it look like a magazine page or something. You know, it's not it's newspaper versus magazine. We want the magazine approach. People read that more. All right. You want a clear call to action. What do you want the reader to do after reading your email? Do we need a call button on the email? Do we need to say schedule service with us, call this number, or do we need a button that says schedule service? Or are we just educating them more and we could say, hey, learn more about this. Like, Jonathan, what is learn more again? How is that going to get me more money? Well, if they find value in the email, which is the next thing here, they find value in your emails, turns out they look forward to your emails. They remember you. Oh, I learned about this, and that. You know, I learned that it turns out you can't put, you know, 3 space heaters on one on one outlet, because you may fry your outlet or whatever happens there. I'm not going to act like I know what I'm talking about. You know, and that's value. You know, as it relates to different, I know I'm talking about a lot of home service contractors here, but there's all kinds of value you can bring in all kinds of different industries. Just educate them. So here's the two main values that you can provide them is, number one, it can be promotional. If you're going to offer a discount, make it attractive. Nobody wants the $15 off coupon. That's not going to make someone act now. So don't do that, but make sure that it's attractive. Make sure that if someone is thinking about getting a plumber out or a service out, that now it's just a no-brainer. Okay, let me just go ahead and act on this and book this now. That's if you're needing more work, and you know, obviously make it make sense, but it's more about just, you know, getting your foot in the door, and now you have an opportunity to find more issues. Or, you know, it's like a roof repair. You know, turns out no one wants to type into Google or tell a roofer, hey, I need a new roof, could you give me a quote on that? They're in denial. They don't want to say that unless someone has already told them that. They want to find out what's it cost to just do this repair. Roofer gets over there, turns out you're gonna need more than just a repair. I'm sorry to tell you this. Okay, so promotional, and it can be educational. This is where, at the very least, like, Jonathan, I don't really feel like running a promotion or getting a discount or anything out. Well, then just offer tips out, just to build that top of mind awareness. You know, it can help answer common questions or concerns in your industry. You know, things like safety, efficiency, how to save money, things to look out for when you have, you know, blank in your house or whatever that might be. I mean, there's so many educational tips that you can give homeowners. And it turns out, you know, I've been doing this with the couple, helping a couple clients through this, and it turns out they keep on reading it. You know, they haven't, there's a very low unsubscribe rate, well, from these kinds of emails. And it's like, well, if they're not telling them to call you, then what's the point? They remember you when they need you again, when they need your service again. You're at the top of their mind. They know what to look up. They know where to find, or at the very least, they could look at their emails. What was that email I got again? Let me see. Or let's wait for the next one. It's very important. This doesn't cost you anything except for the email software, but we'll talk about that in a minute. All right. You know, here's this is not a, hey, this is the best practice, this is what you have to use. But if you want an email blast, meaning we're sending all the emails out at once, which is usually what I recommend, unless it's like 10,000 plus contacts, 10,000 plus emails. You just want to send it all out at once. You don't want to trickle it. It's not a review campaign. It's different. We just want to do a nice blast all at once. This is, you can use MailChimp, Constant Contact. I mean, most of those are going to be, if you have about 1,500 contacts, or 2,000, it may be around $60, $70 a month to just keep that up. And you can send out usually 2 or 3 emails a month if you want, and which is more than enough for that. If it's less, usually it'll range anywhere between, you know, $20 to $70 a month. So Shay Toy says ConvertKit is what I love to use. Provides a lot for free. So check that out too. But I don't get a kickback on ConvertKit. That's what my concern. No, I'm just kidding. I don't get a kickback at all. So thanks for the smile. I appreciate that. All right. Here's the next thing. Text marketing. I'm going to do a little bit of repetition here because, well, we'll tell that in a second. It's about the same thing here. Recommended frequency once per month. Even if it's just a, hey, how are you doing? When was the last time you called out someone to get your blank checked? You know, may not be as compelling, but you know, even something like that, just to remind them you're there. You know, I even get these stupid Domino's push notifications on my phone that just says, hey, are you hungry? Eat Domino's tonight. And I was like, do they really think this is gonna work? Turns out one time it did, and it paid off for them. It was free. So, but it's the exact same rules as emails, but everything's exponentially more important. Same rules, but the principles are amplified. So I'm gonna say a couple of the same things, but hang in with me. It's gonna be one topic. You better not tell anything else other than one thing over text. You have very short space for text. Very concise. 160 characters is the magic number, because once you exceed that, I know on Androids they're a little too old to figure out how to bundle all in one text here. Not trying to, start an Android versus iPhone war here, but it'll break it up and it's going to look ugly. It's going to be weird. It's going to be less attractive to read. Usually want to keep it in around 160 characters. Once you go one character over, it bleeds into the next text, next box here. So you want to be very concise. Once again, very direct. You don't even say, hey, I know this, that, actually, we're going to talk more about that in a minute, but it's got to be very, very direct. What kind of content? Same thing. It can be promotional. It's not a whole lot of education that you can give in there. You can't really do a nice newsletter or anything like that, but you could also have reminders. Hey, you're probably due for blank, or when was the last time you did this? That's fine. It turns out text marketing is a little pricier than email campaign. I'd say on the high end is 5 cents per text. So that's going to be $5 for 100 texts. It turns out if you have, 1,000 texts for $50, that's on the higher end. Turns out it only takes booking one of those for one thing to make that worth it pretty quick. And even if there wasn't any quote unquote direct return on that moment, just the sheer fact of reminding them that you're their go-to contractor or, person for whatever you provide, that alone is, it's fairly cheap just to remind them that. It's fairly effective. Shay Toy, you ask, would you recommend a commercial? Do you mean like a TV commercial or?
Sorry, I was meaning because our clients are we don't do residential, so I was curious if you would recommend commercial clients.
Oh, yes, yeah. So, what I would recommend as far as commercial clients is, it depends, but you could still send out a text blast, or maybe just an email blast, or but I think this third one here that I'm going to cover here is actually going to apply most very well to commercial, which is the next one. We'll get in just a second. So you could also use easy texting for text marketing, but it doesn't have to be. This is just something that I have helped use before, and it seemed pretty easy. Thankfully, it holds up to its name. But here's the third one. It's calling your customer base. I know this is not as attractive. It's not just $50 and suddenly you've talked to 1,000 people. It's a little bit more work, but it's super, super effective when you need it. So if you're wanting more work, this can be done. Well, what are you calling about? Well, just check in. Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. No, are you going to do that to every single residential customer? No, this is probably more a check-in for, maybe a general contractor you used to get a lot of work from. Hey, checking in. Haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing? That's it. Oh, doing well. And then turns out when you say that, they're going to go in with their explanation why you haven't heard from them in a while right off the bat. They're just going to spill the beans. And it's not like they need to justify anything, but just, hey, I want to remind you I'm here. And I'm thinking of you. Let's go from there. You can call about promotional offers. If you're in a spot where you need more work and you have an office person that's not very busy, they've got to do this. Just call some people, let them know. It doesn't hurt to hear no, thank you. It doesn't hurt at all. It only hurts if you let it. So that's
quick story if I can here, Jonathan.
Yes, please.
So one of my guys that I work with, Get Lit Lighting, they just started offering services for outdoor landscape lighting. Primarily, they've been Christmas lights, very seasonal. It's the holiday season at the end of the year, that's it. But this year they just did Christmas lights, and really the most success they've had is from doing this right here, calling their past customers that they already had for another service. Now, yours may not be as dramatic as adding something you weren't completely doing before, but a lot of times it's just letting people know what it is that you do. If you're a plumber that has gone for a leaky toilet, but you can also do a full-on repipe, or you can also do a bit of light remodeling, you can call through to some of your past customers or your biggest customers or your biggest commercial clients. But yeah, they've already won like $50,000 this year just from calling through their old past customers, and that's it.
Wow. That's huge. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. I was going to say something and I blanked out, but we'll carry on. All right, follow up. You can also, I know I'm talking about customer database here. This applies to your pipeline, your sales in general. You can follow up on old estimates, people you haven't talked to in a while, just get a firm yes or no, check in. Hey, looks like we gave an estimate for blank and this and that. What are you thinking? Wanted to hear from you. And just go from there. These are the power of going back and following up and calling your customer base, just letting them know what you do. I remember now what I was going to say was, to Bryce's point, don't assume that your customers know all that you offer. I'm telling you, a lot of us are idiots. We don't know. A lot of us just don't know that plumbers, at least I found out recently, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of plumbers deal with gas. I didn't know that. How would I know that? It's unless have dealt with gas and someone told me, hey, you have to call a plumber for that. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know. And I know in some states it's confusing where you got to call a plumber for your boiler, which is your heating system. I was like, well, don't you call the AC guy for that? Well, I don't know. I'm kind of confused myself. So please tell your customers they don't always know. Don't assume. So Dream 100, guys, this is so important here. If you have time, please, you can use this time to create new relationships, call people. And I want to emphasize this point because this goes back to the customer base here. Renew dormant relationships, meaning you haven't heard from somebody in a while. Which relationships should you revive? Maybe a realtor used to refer a lot of work from you, but it stopped. Just check in. Maybe general contractor or property management company used to refer a lot of work to you, or maybe just maybe a real loyal customer that referred a ton of work. Give them a call and just say, hey, haven't heard from you in a while, just wanted to check in, everything okay? Turns out they have to be using somebody. So even if they say, yeah, well, it turns out that something happened with you. Okay, well then address it and acknowledge the elephant in the room. Or, hey, we're using so-so. Hey, well, if you ever want to give us a second shot, we'll be glad to be there for you. Just let us know, but no hard feelings. At the very least, I guarantee nobody does that. That will mean so much. You got to have a script for this. You can't just tell them, hey, call these people and let's reel some jobs in. No, you got to give them a script. We have some scripts here. You can build one with your coach. And go from there. But also you've got to be really specific. Don't just say call some people and use a script. You got to say, hey, let's determine reasonably how many calls we can make and go from there. And how often, is it 10 calls in an hour? I mean, I think that's very few, but I know that we're also used to making 150, 200 dials a day. Which I understand is not normal, but still, when the principle is here, if someone's focused, they can knock out some calls pretty quickly here. Okay. One thing I wanted to quickly show here that I completely missed. Is it worth it? Okay, I'm in the middle of it. Let's just do it. I know I'm stealing all of the time in the breakout room, but that's okay. Here's what I wanted to show you guys. This is a good example of a good email versus, I want to say bad email, but I already did. We're gonna say bad email here. Could you guys see this all right? I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit here. There you go. So from here it says, this is something we have actually launched and had actual results from. This is dumpster rental company. Hey, subject line, $25 off your next rental in February. You know, if someone's even thinking about doing this, they're going to book it. Turns out they did. They had, you know, I mean, it wasn't a crazy amount, but it was like 5 or 6 people who mentioned code customer love. Here's a good tip. Please tell your whoever's answering the phone about this special, because they were very confused when a lot of people were just saying customer love, but eventually figured it out. Yeah. Hey, for the month of February, every customer will get $25 off. Please reference a special customer love with making the reservation. Call us here to book a dumpster. Straightforward, quick, easy to understand. Here's the temptation, is to really add some lovely words in there, but I'm telling you, it's not worth it. First of all, the subject line doesn't have a clear offer, doesn't have their name in there. And it's just like, Happy Valentine's Day. Here's a special for you. That's not tempting to go on there. I may not even open the email. You know, high valued customer. We hope you have a great Valentine's Day with your loved ones. It's always a good time to rent a dumpster. It's just a fluff. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's just a lot of fluff, a big paragraph that's scary. And then we try to throw in the, by the way, we also offer this. Trust me, don't do this. It's gross, doesn't work. It's going to scare your customers away. Very few people are going to go through with that. I want to give you one quick visual here for the texting as well. And these are actual campaigns that have actually worked. Or actually this one we're going to launch out, so I lied. But this is a good example as well. You know I talked about making it as attractive as possible. 20 off. Well, 20 isn't so much off, but we want to test it out. Let's just explore. If we don't get anyone replying to this, then we're going to change it. But on the left side, this is within the 160 character limit. This one is over the 160 character limit. Can you see how short it needs to be? So need your tub or tile refinished? Schedule service in April, get $20 off, text renew if interested. If we can say text renew if interested, or reply if you're interested and we'll be in touch, let's use the shorter one. That's the point here. We got to keep it concise. We got to make sure it's to the point as quickly as possible. This is a little bit long and drawn out. When was the last time you had your tub or tile refinished? We're currently offering an exclusive deal for April only. Schedule service in April and get 20 off. Let's make it as concise and quick as possible. That's the main thing here. All right. We're about ready for going to breakout rooms, but one thing I want to throw out here, just to make this really, really clear here. Man, I did not think this was going to go this long. You haven't done a whole lot of talking, so I think that's my fault. I'm going to blame me. So systemize it and schedule it. Step 1, guys, this is what we're going to go through in the breakout room. Let's determine which form of marketing we can begin implementing as soon as possible. Step 2, determine how often you're willing to do it. Because if we just do it one time, it's said and done, you may never think about it again. Well, like I could probably commit to, maybe once a month. Okay, great. Schedule it in your calendar. That's how you get it done. That's how you remember. That's how you don't let it drift away, never do it again. You got to schedule it in your calendar. Step 4, create the content for it, line it up, get it ready. Don't just figure it out right when you need to send it out. Just get it ahead. You can even create, 2 or 3 the next 3 months of kind of text campaigns or emails that you want to try out, and go from there. And then just do it. Just blast it, get the calls done, and go from there. All right, guys. I know I said a lot here, but we're going to go into the breakout rooms and get into some specifics here right away.